about, yes, I would.
All right. Would you agree that maybe there are mental, physical, and even spiritual battles?
Well, I think when we consider battle, we have to really consider in light of the resolution, we are looking at international battles, so I don't really think we can have like a mental battle. We should mitigate that.
Okay, actually talking about the light of the resolution, do you believe that we should define terms separately, such as defining international and then defining conflict, or should we define them together as they were meant to be in the resolution?
In the resolution, as you define international conflict together, you just basically said a conflict between two nation states. So it didn't really define what conflict was. You can define them together, but you still need to define both terms inside of your definition. You just said a conflict that's basically between nation states. It'd be like saying a moral obligation is an obligation that's moral, kind of thing.
Okay, that's fair enough. Going down to your first contention that moral obligation is always good. Now, essentially under this point, just to clarify, you were challenging me to prove that a moral obligation, or in this case, mitigation, is always good, correct?
Yes, it was more just logical analysis, just saying if it's a moral obligation, it must always be good. Or else
okay, and later up in your, actually later down in your speech, you argued that military force is a form of mitigation, and that I have to prove that it always is a good thing, correct?
You just have to prove that mitigation is always a good thing.
Okay, did you bring up a counter definition of mitigation?
No, I did not.
Okay. Going down to your second contention that mitigating is not always good. You talked about the example of the Vietnam War.
Yes.
You're still standing firm that military coercion would be a form of mitigation, right?
It is a form of mitigation.
Okay,
yes.
would you agree with me by saying that when we intervened in Vietnam, that it escalated the problem?
It may have escalated the problem, but the purpose is that we came into Vietnam to mitigate.
All right, but did we actually mitigate the conflict, or did we increase the severity and painfulness of that conflict?
It actually ended up it still ended the war, so technically you could say that it still was a mitigation, although it did have very harmful results.
Okay, so you would agree that it did increase the severity and painfulness of the war,
It did,
though.
but it also mitigated because obviously Vietnam's not at war right now.
All right, that's fair enough. Going down to your next application, you talked about our military force against Iran and Afghanistan.
Iraq.
Is that right?
Yes.
Or Iraq and Afghanistan. All right. Okay, that's good. I thought you were talking about Iran for a minute there. All right, so that clarifies that for me. Actually, I have no further questions. Thank you very much.